analyze information in a different way from the other researchers I work with. I suppose my main role is reading and writing papers and looking at a lot of data. I mostly work alone, standing up in my kitchen at a computer, and sometimes go to the hospital or whatever is asked of me. So it isn't that that I'm more intelligent than them, or that I'm certainly not better educated. I've never been to university as a student. I just look at things differently, and it's sort of complementary. That is, I can't do things that they do quite easily. On the other hand, they can't do things that I do quite easily. And it seems to be productive to have these two different kinds of minds working together.
We should view neurology through the same civil rights lens as we currently view race, religion, sexual orientation, and other forms of what's termed legitimate human difference. And basically, from that perspective, instead of trying to find a way of making autistic people normal or making people with other forms of neurological difference normal, what we should be doing is addressing the true problems and barriers that exist in our lives.
The normalization to me is a negative. If I were to extinguish Adam's hand flapping or jumping up and down to make that behavior look more appropriate, that's taking away a movement that he needs to feel his body in space and the way he learns and perceives his world, right? So if I take that away, I'm almost impairing him more.
Autism, in our minds, is a natural and legitimate and hopefully permanent part of human genetic diversity. The problem to us is not being autistic. The problem is a society that does not provide for the right education, supports, and services to allow us to live a high quality of life.
A person's neurology can vary a good deal. There are so many different kinds of it, and one isn't necessarily better or worse than another kind. First color. In another video, second color. I show how most people can name colors, but they can't name a musical note just from hearing it. But I can do both, so to me, they seem logical to both be part of the same skill, which is identifying the frequency range of light or sound. It's the same thing to me, and yet for other people it's really not the same, and a lot of things about neurology are like that.
This past December, the New York University Child Study Center put forward an advertising campaign that offended countless people throughout the disability community. It consisted of a series of phony ransom notes, each claiming to be from a particular disability that had supposedly kidnapped a child. It's the idea that children with disabilities are somehow not fully present within their own bodies, that they live half-lives or are life unworthy of life, has been an extraordinarily damaging concept throughout history, and we felt it was necessary to unite to speak out against it. Thanks to our efforts, these ads were removed.
The presentation of autism as sort of a tragedy, like losing a child, like a death in the family, all these things have been said, and all these other things describing autistic children as rotting on the vine, autistic people as a blight on society, as not human unless we've had one particular intervention starting early in life, and so on. These aren't things only that I've seen happen to other people. That has happened to me. I've been called an animal to my face, loudly, by people who assumed that I was not sentient because my behavior was atypical and because they knew that I was an autistic. Not even an autistic person. I don't think they saw me as a person. They did call me an animal and said that I should be treated as such. That was recent enough that it's hard to talk about.
I started the Autism Acceptance Project following an exhibition I did of Jonathan Lerman's work in 2005 here in Toronto. And then looking at autistic people and how what they were producing with and without speech, what they were doing with their handicap. And I thought, well, this is a side that we need to see. And we have Nobel Prize winners who are autistic. Autistic writings exist, autistic art exists, autistic people exist and are talking for themselves. And they are part of a greater disability rights movement, just trying to be a part of the world and to contribute to it and to be regarded as anybody else would want to be regarded.
We don't want to be seen as less than other people. We don't want people to fix us. I have to say that the main times I want to be non-autistic, what I really want is more like for people to not treat me badly for it, to not have been raised with ridiculous sorts of expectations that don't match reality at all, to not be in a situation that's structured so that I would look at myself as a broken model of someone else's perfection or something.
You know, autism isn't a disaster. You know, autism isn't, you know, the worst possible nightmare. Autism is not something that I think is what's causing me problems any more than any other human being suffers or has problems or whatever.
Typically, when families talk about researching for a cure, what they really want to see is they want to see what will enable their children to communicate, to hold a job, to live in the community, to potentially marry and have kids. And, you know, these are things that people with disabilities of all kinds can in fact do if we create a society that is open and inclusive to all. The problem is right now the research and policy agenda around autism is not geared towards those things. It is geared towards trying to make us indistinguishable from our peers, to try and force us to be normal for normal's sake. And the research money and the general legislative agenda has not been aimed at supporting us, it's been aimed at eliminating us.
I was ambushed on radio once with that constant question, how could you not want to cure your autistic child? What kind of a parent are you? You know, I think I have a very healthy relationship with my child. I think to appreciate your child for what they are, in my view, is the best parenting, you know. You can't always force your child to be something that they're not.
In my case, if there is something that makes me unique, is that when I was in just a huge amount of difficulty, I was given this opportunity to use my abilities in a way to contribute to society, to be useful at a time when I thought I was useless. We're 30 years behind in autism compared to other disability areas. You know, we accept that disabled people have achievements. We accept that disabled lives are worth living. But in autism, we're not nearly there. We insist that the only way for autistic people to have a good life is to be as similar as possible to someone who's considered to be typical.
I think that the world is pretty much infinitely rich, and that different people can interact with different parts of it, and not a single one of us can possibly ever even approach how much there is to it overall. So to say that one person's experiences of life are automatically richer than another's isn't something I'd consider accurate. Our experiences may differ a lot in some ways, but we're part of the human condition, and we're not a lesser part, or a tragic part, or sad, or pitiful, or pathetic.